Hello there. We're doing a little shakedown camping trip. We're going up in the Warner Mountains next week with some friends, and you'll be seeing that. And we're doing a little shakedown camping trip. We haven't been out camping for a while, so we want to make sure we don't forget something. And also want to check on the trailer bearings. I replaced the bearings in the trailer and changed them over to Jeep tires, and so I want to make sure that everything works as it should. We're fairly close to home. This place is is our little family camping area, and we've come here all the time. We didn't come here at all last year due to the fire. We didn't get out here, but the fire didn't burn this area, and it's still pretty green. So it did burn through here, but it only burned some of the ground fuels, and right now you can't even tell there was any fire around here. It's pretty much grown back and green and beautiful. And there's Karen. So everything is nice and green and beautiful. This area right behind me, this area right in here, was black when we came in here last year after the fire, but it's all grown back and got a needle cast on it. It's all good. So we'll see how this little trip goes. We're gonna be here for a couple nights and go home and get ready to go on a longer trip up in the Warner Mountains are up in Northern California, Northeast California, in the corner, right on the border of Oregon and California. So we've been up there before, but we're going to continue north on the Warner mountain chain and see what's up there. That little cabin over there is called Wimple Cabin. Remnant of the Wimple family from down in Milford. They've been here since pioneer days. They used to own all this land up here, and this is one of their cabins that they use to run cows up here, I think. And this has all been given over to the Forest Service. Fire's it burned a lot more over here than I thought it did. This is over near the top of Janesville grade, back down toward where the turnoff to Antelope Lake, back in that direction. That ridge up there, Stony Ridge, apparently burned right up to the top of Stony on this side anyway. I don't know if it's spotted over, but at any rate, a lot more devastation over here than I expected. Not pretty. Oh, good morning. It's a nice morning this morning. Birds are singing. We're sitting here having some coffee. Karen's working on the dog food. Mr. Murphy needs some food. Of course, I don't know that he's too interested in that right now, but I'm more interested in coffee. Wasn't too many years ago, this was a paved road, and they never maintained it, and it just went back to dirt, gravel. But one good thing about it, this road goes from Doyle Crossing over to Willow Creek, and one good thing about it is that it's not burned. We're not to the burn yet. We came through the Walker Fire burn that's back behind us before we got to Doyle Crossing, and now this is as of yet unburned. Who knows what's going to happen this year. It's a little camping spot that Karen and I have camped at before. There's the road up there, car going by. Anyway, this is a nice little spot to camp, very close to private property, and through the trees you can see the Dixie fire got all way over here. This is over above Milford. There's an old barn we'll see in a minute. It's out in the meadow there, and that's called Ridenauer Barn. And it's an old log cabin. I used to work for the Forest Service, and this was my old district. It used to be the Milford district. It was combined with the Beckworth district, and there are lots of landmarks in this area that we used to use. This is one of them. This is called Mushroom Rock, and I'll show you why. From this angle it looks a lot like a mushroom, so hence the name. This hill over here, Johnson Hill, I'm glad to see it didn't burn off, because as you might be able to see, burned down here, this is the Dixie fire from last year. Burned off this hill. Didn't burn all the trees, but it definitely took some patches out. So it burned all the way down here, and actually burned over the escarpment all the way down to 395. So we're going to be heading down toward Ferris Creek country is down in here, and we're going to be going down to see if Ferris cabin is still there. Okay, this is Ridenauer Barn, and the fire came pretty close to it. Burned this hill right here, and looks like they ran a dozer around in here trying to open up take the brush away to keep fire from getting in this thing, which is a good thing. This thing has been here as long as I can remember, of course, which by the looks of it, you can see it goes way past when I came along. I started in the Forest Service in 1975, so this is obviously here then. I'll have to look it up and see if I can find some information on this. But anyways, pretty good sized barn. I'm pretty sure it had something to do with the dairy project that was going on up here. This creek right down in here along the bottom land is called Last Chance Creek. Runs along there. This is called Willow Creek Crossing. Sure looks a lot different now than it did last time I saw it. Here's a low water crossing at Last Chance Creek. Looking across the meadow, looks pretty sad. Took out that whole hillside over there. That is really ugly. I don't see a green tree up there. Yeah, a couple of them, maybe. Pretty sad. I'm not sure I would call that light hand on the land suppression tactics for sure. Apparently they went right along this road, took all the trees back. Looks like 100 feet from the road. And over here on the fire side, the fire never even came close to it. So this was a contingency line of some sort. And boy, you talk about some devastation. And that wasn't caused by the fire. That mountain up there is called Black Mountain. There's a lookout up there that you can rent. Don't use it for fires anymore, they just rent it out. But what we walked out here for, in the burn, is this petroglyph panel that's on these rocks. When the sun's just right, you can see them pretty well, which you can almost see now. These are like engraved into the rock. And I've taken quite a few pictures of these. Maybe I'll put one up here that I've taken with when the shadows were perfectly good. Right now you can still see them, but not quite as well. The fire burned all the brush off along here, and took out those which used to be power lines. I don't know if you can see those in the video, but there used to be a power line that came from the other side, went over the top, and so now it's laying on the ground, so I don't think it's active anymore. Anyway, over here on the other side of these rocks are some grindstones. These are bedrock mortar grindstones here that grindy. Places where they used to grind, I don't know, acorns or whatever they harvested. Anyway, there's that one, there's another one, there's some other ones over here. This used to be a place I took people all the time to show them some of the history around here. Certainly was prettier back in the day. Here's a rock that's been worked. It's trying to be a point. I don't know if it ever was used, probably not. But anyway, made out of basalt. That's the common rock around here. You don't keep these though, they go back on the ground. Just like to take pictures of them and leave them where they lay. With all the brush burned off though, somebody that's looking for this kind of stuff would probably be having a better luck finding them. There's more rocks down here. I haven't really searched all of these rock piles to see if there were either petroglyph panels or not. Some of these holes are natural. Oh, that might be. That might have been the start of one. It's not smooth though. The way you tell a mortar hole is if the inside of it is really smooth. That's the way. Well, they put in a fire break along this road that they should be proud of, or not. I'm sure not proud of it. It's ugly and it's unnecessary, and it was ineffective to do any good except make a mess and damage the land. We're on the road going from Granite Spring out to the $1 Million Bridge out toward the Ferris country. And again, they did an indirect contingency line along this road. Did more damage than the fire. Looking down the Last Chance Road toward the $1 Million Bridge. Ferris Creek comes out down in here. And pretty much all that forest is burned off. Complete devastation by the looks of it. Pretty ugly. This is the $1 Million Bridge. This is called Jordan Field. Varying degrees of intensity burned through here. There's some pretty nuked places right up on top. There were a lot of plantations back in here from the Ferris fire, and I think from the Ferris fire mostly. And now it looks like a lot of them are burned up. There are some green patches in there. That's a good thing. This used to be a pretty little camp spot. We've stayed here before. There's still quite a few green trees. Once all the needles fall off of these dead trees and these little trees fall down, this won't look so bad. But this little campsite was a cool little place to go because of this water feature over here. And anybody that knows about this area at all knows what gravel pit I'm talking about, I'm sure. It was a great little swimming hole. It still is. Even though it's not as pretty as it used to be. Ferris cabin's still standing. If you look at that shake roof that's up there, a friend of mine and I got the job to reshingle that, and I think those are the same shingles we put up there. It was probably late 70s, maybe early 80s when we did that, and those have held up. I don't recall anybody since then putting a roof on this thing, so I think we were the ones that did that. My friend Dave, he's gone now, but he and I worked on that, finished that whole side. Don't remember the other side. I think this is the only side I remember doing. Anyway, it looks like somebody's been tearing boards out of the deck here. This deck wasn't torn up like this before. I'm not sure what's going on there. It looks like somebody tried to put some boards over the door to try to keep embers out. Just not a real smart thing to do, but I give them credit for trying something. Yeah, Ferris cabin. It's like somebody's actually put some extra boards in the walls. Looks like they tried to put some boards across the windows too to keep embers out. I'm glad it's still here. This is a piece of history. So much history is gone that it's a shame. Here comes a white truck. Could be a Forest Service truck. I hope it is. I'd love to give them peace of mind. Anyway, the country around this is pretty well devastated. But the cabin's still here, and that's a good thing. All these plantations up here are gone. Pretty much gone to the last tree. I mean, there's a couple of green ones. There's a couple of green ones right there. For the most part, they're all gone. The Ferris 80, 81, whatever it was, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but the second Ferris fire burned over in here, and all those plantations are gone. And going down the road toward Willow Creek Crossing, doesn't look too good, does it? It's like a pretty devastated forest. Going up the road toward Conklin Park from Willow Creek Crossing. Pretty sad. Conklin Park is all burned up. We'll drive in there and take a look at it.
You should say Conklin Park Campground.
Conklin Park Campground, yes. It's called Conklin Park. Yeah. Well, here's where the campground was. Yeah, good, mate. That's a minute. Oh, they changed it. That's right. They rebuilt. They put that rebuilt in there. Yeah, bulletproof containers. There's the place you're supposed to leave money. Back there. Right there. Can't get through anymore. They got the trees blocking the road. Boy, this is pretty sad. This is the campsite we used to like to stay in. Looks like all the big trees died, so they cut them down. And they've got the nerve to charge for this campground. Somehow I don't think they're going to make a whole lot of money here. Yep, this is where we used to like to camp. Oh boy, this is real sad. This is called the grease rack. This fire straight ahead of us originally burned in 1989. 1989 was the rack fire. And they came in and they replanted it. Looks like the Dixie fire took out a lot of the plantation trees. There's still some left, but didn't do them any good, that's for sure.
The rack fire was 2,500 acres.
Is that what it said? Oh yeah, 2,500 acres. Okay, I forgot about that. I knew it was 1989. And my crew put that sign in there. It says Siegfried Canyon, Squaw Canyon, Stony Creek Road. It's amazing that's still there. Heading down McClellan Canyon Road right now, and we're out of the burn. So it's nice and green. You gotta love that after seeing all the death and destruction that we saw today. Well, we ended up on the McClellan Canyon Road, the old McClellan Canyon Road, which has been closed for years. So there's a set of tracks ahead of us that went out this way, but I got to a spot where I just didn't want to go any farther. So we're going back the way we came. This road has been, it hasn't been ripped, but it's got a lot of big rocks in it. You got to kind of watch, or in some cases you got to drive over them. And there's a lot of trees growing up in the road, so it's an interesting drive. And I've been up here before, years ago, before they closed this road, but now it's closed. So here we are. Doesn't even look like a road, does it?
These rocks in the road are premeditated.
Yeah, they put them in here. Close this road.
You missed on that one.
Did I?
You didn't feel yourself roll over
Well,
the edge of it?
rolling over, it's good. You don't want to straddle one that's too big.
Yeah.
So rolling over, it's all right. Well, we ended up in some interesting places today, and saw some pretty sad stuff. But it is what it is. So we're just gonna have to live with it, I guess. Conklin Park was really sad. I did not expect that to be burned like that, so that's too bad. Anyway, showed you guys some sights around the old Milford district today. A few little sites that landmarks that we used to use all the time. And finding that the Ferris cabin was still intact was a good thing. Well, forest around it's kind of burned up, but at least the cabin's there. And apparently they put some wrap on it because we found staples stapled into the wood all the way around it, and so they must have wrapped it with something. They must have some sort of wrap that they put on the structures. I guess that they do that because they don't want to stay there when the fire's coming through, which is kind of sad. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. The wind is really blowing today. I don't know why. Maybe blowing in another dry front. It's supposed to cool off tomorrow. Today it was in the 80s. It was pretty nice. We're in shorts and we're sitting out here. Let's see, it's about 20 after 5 and it's real comfortable. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Well, good morning. Coffee and breakfast is out of the way. It's a windy day again today. 2 days in a row of windy days. Interesting. Anyway, back to what you were saying.
This is a lovely day. I have had a wonderful breakfast in the Scottle, and I know you all know about the Scottle. And we're getting ready to do something today.
Yeah, I think we're going to take a drive up to Elephant's Playground to see the sad effect of the Walker fire a couple of years ago. See what it did to the Elephant's Playground area. I know what it did on the way up there. It's completely devastated. Kind of want to see it. Elephant's Playground is a big meadow area, and it used to be a real pretty little place to have in the spring. Lots of flowers, and probably the meadow is probably okay. Probably going to be a lot of wildflowers up there, so we'll go check it out and see what we'll see. See how the wind's blowing through the grass there. Well, we had a good time today. We went to Elephant's Playground, went around Babcock Peak, drove completely around it. Saw some really nice country that it's actually one of the fires back in 2007 got in there, the Wheeler fire, but burned the brush off, didn't kill the trees, and now it's all grown back to where it doesn't even look like it burned, so it's pretty nice. We also saw some stuff there's one, I'll put a picture up here. There's one picture I took in 2007 before it burned, and then I went back after to the same spot and took another picture. And today I took a third picture, 15 years later, almost 15 years later, and so you can see what it looks like now. So it's kind of interesting to see what happens to the forest after a fire, and you know that was 15 years ago. Today's picture. Anyway, pretty good day. Had a nice time, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Okay.
All right. Anyway, so tomorrow back home and get ready to go on the next trip, which is up into Northern California, Northeast California, up in the Warner Mountains. So see you then.